it's my turn, and I'm bringing you the very last book I'm doing live. I'm still going to do a few more books, don't worry. This would be chapter 24 of all the books I've read, and this one is for the word. I honestly don't know what this word is. I think it's PLIEDEFE or something like that. I have no idea. But obviously, this isn't a word. I would never have been able to find this in a book, considering the amount of editing is done. This wouldn't have been found at all. So I decided to take the only thing I know that is actually a word from this thing, and that is plie at the beginning, the ballet move, which I know because I actually used to do ballet, which might shock some of you. So yes, I'm reading with something with the word plie in it, and what I'm decided to read from is Still Writing: The Perils and Pleasures of a Creative Life. I'm sure a lot of us can identify with this because, I mean, obviously a lot of us are creative people. It is by Dani Shapiro, and it is based. It feels like an autobiography. I could have written this, honestly. I wish I wrote this. It's beautiful. I haven't finished it, but I'm going to finish it as soon as I can. I've just been too busy writing and reading excerpts to actually read for pleasure at the moment. But I'm going to read you a few excerpts. Maybe I'm definitely going to read one, maybe two if I can. And yeah. He is still writing: The Perils and Pleasures of a Creative Life. Habit. People sometimes ask if I write every day. They're incredulous. When I answer that I write 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and keep as close to banker's hours as I can manage, they tell me they can't imagine it. They'd get lonely, or distracted, or bored. They need more stimulation. The track of this particular conversation often ends up with the person telling me that they'll write a book when they retire, or hire someone to ghostwrite their life story. You must be so disciplined, they say. And I stand there with a smile, frozen in place, not wanting to be rude, but not knowing how to respond. It's my job, I want to say. It has nothing to do with discipline. But where do you find the inspiration, they'll ask. I sit down every day at around the same time and put myself in the path of inspiration. I sometimes say, if the person seems genuinely interested, seems genuinely interested. If I don't sit down, if I'm not there working, then inspiration will pass right by me, like the right guy in a romantic comedy who's on the other side of the party, but the girl never sees because she's focused on her total loser of a date. It's hard to overestimate the importance of habit, of routine. I've had students who've had full-time jobs. One who comes to mind is a psychologist and an AIDS researcher, and the mother of 2 young children, who wrote her first novel in the pre-dawn hours. Another student, a book editor, worked on her first novel for precisely 1 interrupted hour before heading to her office job each day. So much can be accomplished in 1 focused hour, especially when that hour is part of a routine, a sacred rhythm that becomes part of your daily life. In the yoga and meditation practices that have become integral to my writing day, I rarely feel like unrolling my mat. There's always something more pressing to do. Searching online for that perfect black leather jacket on sale, for instance. But I know that if I just begin the motions, the ritual of setting up my practice, I will probably overcome the pull of high fashion or whatever the day's distraction happens to be. If I light a fire in the fireplace, then the lavender-scented candle, if I get my music set up and unroll my mat, if I put the crystals on the floor that have become part of my routine, then the next thing I know, I'm in a sun salutation and an hour goes by. I'm in lotus position, counting my breath. I haven't waited to be in the mood, I've just gone ahead and done it anyway, because that's what I've been doing for years now. It's the same with writing, which is a practice like any other. If I waited to be in the mood to write, I'd barely have a chapbook of material up to my name. Who would ever be in the mood to write? Do marathon runners get in the mood to run? Do teachers wake up with the urge to lecture? I don't know, but I doubt it. My guess is that it's the very act that is generative, the doing of the thing that makes possible the desire for it. A runner suits up, stretches, begins to run. An inventor trudges down to his workroom, closing the door behind him. A writer sits in her writing space, setting aside the time to be alone with her work. Is she inspired doing it? Very possibly not. Is she distracted, bored, lonely, in need of stimulation? Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. Without a doubt, it's hard to sit there. Who wants to sit there? Something nags at the edges of her mind. Should she make soup for dinner tonight? She's on the verge of jumping up from her chair, in which case all will be lost. But wait, suddenly she remembers. This is her hour, or 2 or 3. This is her habit, her job, her discipline. Think of a ballet dancer at the bar. Plié, élevé, battement tendu. She is practicing because she knows that there is no difference between practice and art. The practice is the art. Obviously you heard the word plie there, from PLIEDEFE, whatever that word is. I will read another excerpt, but I just wanted to talk to you about this one. This is so like me, I need to say. I do yoga as well, I meditate, because I found it centers me and it helps me write. It inspires me to move on with my day, and it also really helps my back, but that's beside the point. So I always find it's really hard to write. Like Danny Shapiro, if I only wrote when I felt in the mood for it, I would never finish any of the books I've written, which explains why I have so many unfinished books, because I've never had the ability to sit down and write that much, because it's not my job. I've written them in school between classes. I've written them at 3 a.m. in the morning when I've been hit with an idea, even though I have a lecture the next day. I've written them on the bus, on the walls of castle ruins. I don't know what that alarm's for. I've written them everywhere that I can think of. I honestly don't know what that one's for. But yeah, you do need that dedication. You need to be focused on what you want to do in order to do it. And that's what I'm looking forward to once I'm actually able to say that I'm a writer by profession, not just by nature. So I'm going to move on to the next excerpt, because it's just such a good one. It's about ideas. It's called Big Ideas. If you're sitting down to begin something new, your fingers hovering over the keyboard or pen poised in your hand like a maestro before a symphony orchestra, if you are thinking, I'm going to write a story about race and class in the American South, told in 2 voices, and one voice will be in the first person present tense and the other will be in the third person past tense, and they will explore themes of longing and regret, oppression and denial, you're in trouble. These are ideas. They're the babbling of a writer within the delusional grip of a fantasy that she is in control. I've learned to be wary of those times when I think I know what I'm doing. I've discovered that my best work comes from the uncomfortable but fruitful feeling of not having a clue, of being worried, secretly afraid, even convinced that I'm on the wrong track. When I think I know what I'm doing, when I have a big idea, I tend to start talking about it. First, I might bring it up to my husband. I'm thinking of writing a novel that moves backward in time, or having clipped a newspaper article. I think there's a good story here about the juror who forced a mistrial. Instead of sitting with a thought, I release my tension by blabbing about it. No good will come of this. The point is best made by Friedrich Nietzsche. That for which we find words is already dead in our hearts. There is always a kind of contempt in the act of speaking. I keep Nietzsche's words on an index card tacked to a bulletin board above my desk as a reminder, a warning, that it isn't usually useful to talk about or overthink what you haven't yet written. After all, if we write out of the tension of the unexpressed, where does the tension go once we've expressed it? Let go of every should or shouldn't running through your mind when you start. Be willing to stand at the base of a new mountain and with humility and grace bow to it. Allow yourself to understand that it's bigger than you or anything you can possibly imagine. You're not sure of that path. You're not even sure where the next step will take you. When you begin, whisper to yourself, I don't know. That is just another brilliant excerpt from Still Writing, The Perils and Pleasures of Creative Life. Because it's not just about, well, it's about writing, but it's just about creativity in general. You need to take that hour when you can and dedicate yourself to that craft. You need to not talk about what you want to do, you need to start doing it. I have serious problems with this. I have so many ideas, yet it's so impossible for me to start because I'm always thinking about, okay, I need to buy groceries. Okay, I need to write that essay for that class. I'm just so overwhelmed that I can't do it, unfortunately. But I'm looking forward to the time when I can. I dedicate as much time as I can to the craft I'm doing at the moment. So I write once a day when I can. That's what the idea of Write on the Line is about. The fact that I've been given these words and I dedicate myself to writing a story, a prose, writing something for each of these words, and I've done it more or less every day. There are some days when I haven't done it just because I haven't felt like doing it, or I've had a migraine or I've been ill, but I make up for it on the other days. Last night I think I wrote about 5 stories, because of the fact that the day before I only wrote 2. I make up for it. Okay, so that was Still Writing, The Perils and Pleasures of a Creative Life, Danny Shapiro. And like I said, this is my last live performance of Write on the Spine. But don't forget that I am also live from 2 till 2:45 with my Write on the Line installation. I'll give you a sneak preview. Ooh, which way is it? This way, isn't it? These are printed pages from my stories. I'll just show you that, that's it. And then I'll explain to you the meanings behind Write on the Spine, Write on the Line and everything in my installation timetable. I don't know, the timetabled lecture or whatever it is. I can't think at the moment. But yeah, it's been a pleasure today, and I will see you all later. I say it's been a pleasure. Bye.